Hit it, Phil.
Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La, da, da, da.
Stay tuned.
Right after this episode.
For our discussion.
From Television City in Hollywood, we bring you the Jack Benny program, presented by Lucky Strike.
Hi, I'm Andre Baruch. You know, I've been in radio and television for the past 20 years. And if there's one thing I've learned in that time, it's that you can't please everybody. Now, just the other night, I saw what I thought was a wonderful television show. I have just read a review on it in the paper, and the critic doesn't like it. You see, entertainment's all a matter of taste. And the same is true of cigarettes. Smoking enjoyment is all a matter of taste. And the fact is, Lucky's taste better. Now, for many years, I've been telling you about Lucky Strike cigarettes. I smoke them myself, so I know what I'm talking about. LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. And fine tobacco means better taste. And then, too, Lucky's are made better. Made better to draw freely and smoke evenly, which also means better taste. Why don't you try a carton? Be happy. Go Lucky. Find out for yourself. Lucky's taste better.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and a Happy New Year. I hope that you all had a nice Christmas, because mine was simply wonderful, particularly on Christmas Eve, because I was sitting there at the tree, by the tree, and, oh, I must tell you this, and at exactly 12 o'clock, you know, at exactly midnight, Rochester came down the chimney. No, he wasn't playing Santa Claus. It's just that if he isn't in by 10 o'clock, I lock all the doors. And then he told me that he was out on a party with Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Blitzen. I found out later it was the Mills Brothers. I never did know their first name. But I had the most wonderful Christmas, and I got the most beautiful gifts this year from the members of my cast, because they've been with me for such a long time. You know, like Don Wilson, he gave me a tie, you see, and Bob Crosby gave me a pair of socks, and Dennis Day gave me a fish hook. No, this may not sound like anything to you, but there was a halibut on it. And it came beautifully gift wrapped, you know, in a box. And then on the box, it said, "Do not open until Christmas." But that was 3 weeks ago. 2 days before Christmas, the box opened itself. But it was a nice thought, you know. And let's see, what else did I... Oh, yes. The boys in the orchestra, you know, the orchestra boys sitting over there, they've been with me for years and years, and they were so thoughtful. They all chipped in, you know, all 18 of them. They all chipped in, and they bought me a great big barrel of lighter fluid. Now I'll never need a match, you know. And of course, I gave them each a gift, too, in return, something that they've always wanted, each one of them. I gave them a Papermate flask. Leak-proof. I mean, 70,000 gulps without refilling. But anyway, you know, it's very funny about Christmas gifts. You never know quite what to give some people. Like, for instance, Mary. It's so hard to buy something for Mary because she used to work at the May Company, and she has everything. So I was going to buy her a new Cadillac, you know, with her initials on the door. But I don't know, it takes so long before they deliver them. some handkerchiefs. I have the same initials. That's what she really wanted. You know, it's the thought that counts. But anyway, well, so much for Christmas, and I'm looking forward to New Year's Eve. And Mary is giving a New Year's Eve party, and naturally I'm going to be there. But she gave a party last New Year's Eve, too, and I couldn't go because last New Year's Eve I had a date to go out, you see. And, well, anyway, let me take you back to a year ago, to last New Year's Eve, a year ago, and we were all, you see, we had just finished a rehearsal at CBS. And so because of that, my whole gang was gathered in my dressing room. It was New Year's Eve. Well, anyway, I'll show you exactly what happened.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny.
Hey, Mel, not my ear. Gee, where?
Where's Jack? Where's Jack? I want to wish him a Happy New Year.
He's in the other room here changing his clothes. Hey, Jack! Jack, hurry up. Everybody's here. There's Bob, Remley, Sammy, the drummer, the sportsman, Mel Blanc. Everybody, hurry up, will you?
Hey, look, fellas, while we're waiting for Jack, why don't we have some refreshments?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'd like to have a beer.
Hey, Sammy, one beer. One beer. Coming up.
Look, while we're waiting for old Blue Eyes, why don't you give us something on the guitar?
Yeah, go ahead, Ram. Coming up.
Remley, how about trying out that new guitar pick that Jack gave you for Christmas?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Bob, how about a song? Go along with it, huh?
Yeah, Bob.
Okay. Frankie, do you remember Irving Berlin's song, Let's Start the New Year Right? Wouldn't that be appropriate?
Oh, what a great song, Bob.
Fellas, help me?
Oh, Bob, come on, let's get it.
1 minute to midnight, 1 minute to go, 1 minute to say goodbye before we say hello. Let's start the new year right, 12 o'clock tonight, when they dim the light, let's begin kissing the old year out, kissing the new year in. Let's watch the old year die with a fond goodbye and our hopes as high as a kite. How can our love go wrong if we start the new year right? Let's start the new year right, smoke Lucky Strike tonight, pass around that light, let's begin puffing the old year out, puffing the new year in. It's LSMFT, that's a smoke for me. I know you'll agree they're just right. Lucky's are better tasting. Let's start the new year right with Lucky's. Be happy, go Lucky Strike.
Jack, you finished dressing yet?
I'll be out in a minute, Don.
Oh, fellas, now when he comes out, really give him a great big greeting, huh?
Yeah.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good.
Hi, fellas. Hey, where's Mary?
Oh, she asked Dennis to drive her home. Said she had a lot of things to do before the party.
Oh.
Say, why don't we break this up and get started for Mary's house? You want to drive over with me, Jack?
Hold on, Bob, wait a minute. I thought you knew Jack's not going to Mary's party.
Oh, no.
That's right, fellas. You'll have to get along without little Jackie tonight.
No, it won't be like that. No, wait a minute. You don't come.
I've got a great big date. Big date tonight, and I'm going to call up a girl. I'm going to pick her up in about a half hour.
Well, then, gee, that's why you're all dressed up.
Hey, look at it. Look kind of classy, don't I, kids? Huh?
Classy, you look like the head pot man in a mortuary flower shop.
All right, Mel, all right.
Jack, who have you got this date with?
Well, it's a girl that I met recently. Her name is Gloria.
Gloria?
Now, wait a minute, wait. Now, wait a minute. No questions. Now, I know you're all curious, but I'm not talking. Anyway, I have a little surprise for all of you before I leave. I have a bottle of wine.
Oh, boy, bring it on. Right over here, Jack. Oh, wait, got a bottle of wine. Right here, Jack. Here's a good place for it. Yeah.
Hey, wow, look at that, man. A
He still can't pronounce it.
No, he can't. Here, Bob.
There we are.
Oh, this is great, really.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, what about Remley there? Why is he drinking all that water?
Well, he's got a long night ahead of him, and he wants to get those chasers out of the way.
Oh, I see. Well, here we are, fellas. Well, kids, this is the close of another year. And it brings a warm glow to my heart to see all of you who've been with me for such a long, long time to be gathered here in my dressing room.
Oh, so nice to be here.
And to you, my associates, as well as my friends, I just want to say sincerely that I'm proud of each and every one of you.
Well, thanks, Jack.
Last year, our rating was down, and he sued us.
Now, wait a minute, Mel, I did not. Anyway, fellas, here's a toast to all of you. Good health, and good luck, and a very happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Jack. Happy New Year.
Well, it's almost 9 o'clock. Let's get started, shall we?
Hey, Jack, look. Look, why don't you come over to Mary's party, even if it's just for a little while?
No. I've got to pick my girl up in about 10 minutes.
Oh, for gosh sake, why don't you bring her over to Mary's house?
No, I'll tell you why. We have our own plans, Bob.
Oh?
Tell you what we're going to do. Gloria and I, we're going to have cocktails at Ciro's.
Ciro.
Have dinner at the Coconut Grove. And then we're going to dance the New Year in at the Macombo.
Oh, you really put it on, don't you?
So you fellas run along and don't worry about little me because I'll take care.
I'll get it. Hello. Yeah, he's here. Who's calling, please? Oh, Jack.
Yeah?
Jack, it's for you. It's Gloria.
Oh, well, wait a minute.
Come over here and get it. You're on.
Hello? Gloria? Well, I'm all dressed and raring to go. Look, I'll pick you up in about... What? You can't go? But look, Gloria... Well, look, I made reservations and everything. But, Gloria, I'm all dressed. Well, look. Look, Gloria... Well, of course I believe you. But... Gee, it's New Year's Eve. You've got to go. Look, Gloria. Well, I mean, isn't there some way that... You can't, eh? Well, if you can't, you just can't, I guess. Yeah. Well, all right, Gloria. Happy New Year. So long. Well, what are you all staring at? Gloria had a very good excuse. And she's nuts about me, too. Well, she is.
Look, Jack, as long as your date's called off, come on over to Mary's party with me.
No, I don't.
Oh, come
feel
on,
like
Jack.
it.
We'll have a lot of fun.
No.
Now, look, Jack, don't be so stubborn.
Look, I'm not stubborn. I just don't want to go, that's all.
Well, you're starting to act like a little...
Look, Bob, wait a minute. Lay off. Jack, the party's over at Mary's house. Now, if you change your mind and want to come, we'd all love to have you.
Well, thanks, Don, but I don't feel like going to a party. I'm going home. Well, Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy New Year, Jack. Happy New Year, Jack.
Oh, brother. Doggone it, I hate to see Jack walk out of here like that.
It's not good for a guy to be alone on New Year's.
Yeah, but maybe you'd feel worse in a...
I forgot my cane.
That's it. Well, I just want to get started.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Woo-hoo! Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Whoopee! Hey, you in a monkey suit, why don't you watch where you're going?
I'm sorry.
Well, just watch it, Bob.
Hiya, Rube.
Hello.
Say, Rube, your coat's ripped up the back.
No, those are tails. I always wear them on New Year's Eve.
Well, ain't you the dandy?
Look, I don't feel like talking tonight.
I
You know,
know.
it's New Year's Eve. And
I know. That's why I'm down here in the city. I aim to do a little celebrating myself.
Well, good.
At the stroke of 12, I'm going to take a drink, blow a horn, and catch the bus back to Calabasas. You can join me if you want to. You're welcome. I have a little snort right back here in my pocket.
No, thanks. I'm just going to go home. So.
Okay, Rube. Happy New Year.
Wonder why he always calls me Rube. Well, I guess I might as well catch the bus and maybe get a cab or something. Kind of chilly, though. Then I'll stop in here and get a cup of coffee.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You like a nice table by the window?
No, thanks. I just want a cup of coffee. I'll sit up here at the counter.
Uh-huh. Excuse me. I like you sit by the window. It helps my business if everybody sees how nice my customer is dressed, huh?
Well, some other time, maybe. Thanks, just the same.
Well, all right. You want to sit by the counter?
That's all. I just want a cup of coffee.
Okay. Excuse me, mister. I got a special dinner tonight, a big dinner, a steak dinner, $2. With mashed potatoes, string beans, and for dessert, nice apple pie a la mode, huh?
Well,
if you sit by the window, I give it to you for free.
well, no, thanks. I just want a cup of coffee. That's all. I'll just sit here.
All right, sir. Happy New Year. Customer.
What'll it be?
Just a cup of coffee, please.
Would you like a sandwich or some toast with it?
No, just coffee.
Want some cream with it?
No, just black coffee. No.
Okay. Here's your coffee.
Thanks.
Gee, I'm sorry about tonight.
That's all right, Gloria. Let's forget it.
But, Jack, honest, Rosie said she'd stand by for me.
Rosie, all the time it's Rosie. I mean, the least you could have done is let me know sooner.
I'm sorry.
All right, you're sorry. Here. I don't want the coffee. I'm going home.
I'll be through at 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock, I'll be snoring. I forgot my cane. Rochester.
Well, what are you doing home so early? I thought you were going out tonight and celebrate.
Well, I was, but things didn't just work out. How about you? I thought you were going out tonight. Huh?
Oh, I am.
Well, it's nearly midnight. You ought to get started, I think.
Boss, on Central Avenue, Father Time waits until we get rolling.
Really?
Sometimes we roll right into February.
Well, Rochester, you can go anytime you're ready.
Well, what are you going to do, Mr. Benny?
Oh, I don't know. I'll just sit around, read a book, and then maybe go to bed. You know?
Well, gee, I hate to see you here all alone on New Year's Eve.
Ah, that's all right.
No, it isn't all right. If you're going to stay home, I'm going to stay home with you.
Now, wait a minute, Rochester. You had a whole evening planned, a wonderful time, and I'm not going to spoil it for you.
No, my mind's made up. I'm going to stay right here with you.
Hey, you know, maybe we could have some fun at that. Have we got any horns in the house?
No, we sold them all.
Oh.
But we still have some of those Welcome Home MacArthur pennants. We can wave those.
No, they don't make any noise. Look, Rochester, you had a party planned. You were going out to have a wonderful time. Now, why don't you go and just leave me alone here? For heaven's sake, I don't care, really.
No, I'm going to stay right here with you.
Well, if you insist. All right.
Say, I know what. I'll open up a new can of beer and we can drink the New Year in together.
Now, wait a minute, Rochester. Look at it.
I'll get it.
As long as you're willing to give up your party and stay here, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to do this thing right. We'll open up a bottle of champagne.
We're going to which a what?
A bottle of champagne. I got it right in the icebox.
Okay, I'll hear it.
Right.
I wonder if Mr. Benny's turned over a new leaf. No.
Hey, Rochester, hurry up. It's midnight. Now, come on. Open it up.
Okay.
Open it up.
I'm over here.
Okay, pour it.
There you are.
There we are. Pour some for yourself, Rochester.
All right.
Well, Rochester, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too, boss. And I hope we're together for many more.
I hope so, too. Here's to it.
Here's to it.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and the days of old lang syne?
Jack will be back in just a moment. But first, a word to cigarette smokers.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. For Lucky Strike means fine tobacco, richer tasting fine tobacco.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. Lucky Strike, Lucky Strike.
Smoking enjoyment is all a matter of taste, and you can actually see why Lucky's taste better when you strip the paper from a Lucky by tearing down the seam. First, you see, Lucky's are made better, made round and firm and fully packed to draw freely and smoke evenly. And second, you see, Lucky's are made of long strands of fine, light, naturally mild tobacco. Everybody knows LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. So for the better taste, that means better smoking, remember,
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. Lucky Strike, Lucky Strike.
yes, smoking enjoyment is all a matter of taste. And Lucky's taste better. Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
You can say that again.
All right, Lucky's taste better. Cleaner, fresher, smoother. So next time, ask for Lucky Strike. Get a carton today.
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. You were such a nice audience. And I'd like to bring back, you know, this being the close of another year, I'd like to bring back someone who has been with me so many years. Of course, nearly every member of my cast has. But Rochester has been with me 17 years, and I'd like to bring him back. Take it back. Congratulations on your usual very good performance, but now that the show is over, you can get back into your old clothes and, you know.
Oh, no, I'm going to a party.
To a party?
Mm-hmm.
Dressed like that? It isn't New Year's Eve, really.
I know, but I've got a heavy date with Susie tonight.
Oh, your girlfriend, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The same one, Susie? No, well, gee, you've been going with her for a long time, Rochester. I mean, I'm surprised you don't get married.
Well, it's a question of money. I don't think I'm earning enough.
Well, Rochester, you know the old saying that two can live as cheap as one. You know?
Boss, in my case, even one can't live as cheap as one.
Well, you may have something there. Well, run along and have a good time.
Fine.
Happy New Year.
Thanks. Same to you, Mr. Benny.
Okay.
All right.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my sponsor and my writers and my cast...
I forgot my cane.
Well, that is his cane. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my sponsor and my cast and my writers and everybody who's associated with me, I do want to wish you all a very, very happy New Year. I'll be back in 3 weeks. And meanwhile, next week, listen to Ann Southern. Happy New Year.
Well, Joel, again, this is Buck Benny speaking. I have my friend Kathy Seeley here, Zach Eastman, and, of course, Terry Phillips. And it's great to see all of you folks. Thought we'd go ahead and present this one. I know it's a little out of order, but we've been presenting them out of order anyway, if you've been following the podcast. We grabbed this one because we're getting close to New Year's, and so we thought we'd do a New Year's one and present that for you on New Year's. He has 2 famous New Year's episodes. We already did the other one where they do a recreation of the Lieutenant skit. In this one, arguably maybe the more famous one, I don't know. Just kind of a melancholy episode in some ways. It's not my favorite episode because of that, because I don't like seeing sad Jack, and you sort of get a chance to see sad Jack on this. But the scene with Rochester is probably the greatest scene ever with Rochester, if not right up there. So it just gives a chance to see their friendship in a new way, or at least they present it. I don't know, just more straight on than usual. Usually you get the idea that they're friends, but this really cemented that in. I love that part. And this is Eddie Rochester Anderson Jr.'s, his son's favorite episode, I believe, of all the episodes because of that scene, which is kind of cool. Anyway, let's go around the horn and see what people thought about this one or they noticed and things. Let's go ahead and go to Kathy first. Kathy, what did you think of this one?
Well, you're right. I hadn't seen. I'd seen the ending with the clip with Rochester, so often. But I was really struck, just as you said, Daryl, by how melancholy the whole episode is. That it really leans into Jack's sadness, and that really is unusual. And the variety reviewers at the time also mentioned that. I'll fill in with that when you come back around to me. I'd like to read selections from what reviewers back in the day thought of the show. But thank you for digging it up and showing it to us. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. And we would have been to this one anyway, sort of, for listeners, we're kind of going chronologically anyway, more or less, through the existing episodes, and this was one we were going to hit probably in a few months, but I thought, well, let's go ahead and bring it forward so that we get a chance to spend New Year's with Jack. I do love the fact that we have an Easter episode, so we can spend Easter with Jack, and we have one that I played around with and made it into a Thanksgiving episode, which is because it's really not a Thanksgiving episode of the Jack Benny Show. But what I did was I took our intros to the Christmas shopping episode, where he's Christmas shopping for groceries, not a regular Christmas shopping one. And we did an intro on that one, which was the original live one. And then it went to, then they did a studio version, but the studio version they did in January of 1961, 62, sometime in there. And when they did the studio version, they took out all the references to Christmas because, of course, it didn't make a whole lot of sense in January to have references to Christmas, but he's doing shopping at a grocery store. And to me, that's what I think of it at Thanksgiving time, is you do all the shopping and preparing for Thanksgiving. So I did it as a Thanksgiving episode. And I took our intro because I didn't have time for us to do another intro. So I was like, okay, I took our intro and I just chopped out everything that talked about it being a live show and everything that talked about it being a Christmas episode. And what I was left with covered the episode pretty well because it was one of those that they redid spot on. There was like almost no differences between the live and the studio episode. So I thought, well, we don't need to do a new intro on that. We can do that. And people loved it. So I threw it out there. Usually on YouTube, we get like, I don't know, 100 listens in a week or people watching in a week to one of our episodes. That one got 1,000, let's say 1,500 watches at Thanksgiving, because I mean, it would mention that it was the Thanksgiving episode. And I was wondering, I was like, okay, how many people are going to skewer me in the comments to say, oh, this isn't a Thanksgiving episode? But I got some nice compliments in there and said, oh yeah, this goes well with Thanksgiving. So that was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a fun way to present it. And these ones I like presenting theirs too. But let's go over to Terry and get Terry's thoughts on it.
We don't often talk much about the commercials in these episodes, but this one starts right off with a Lucky Strike commercial done by Andre Baruch. And for our younger listeners and viewers, Andre Baruch was very famous in the 1940s and 50s. He was an announcer. I didn't know that he was born in Paris. There was no hint of an accent in his English, but he lived here from I think about the age of 10 or 12. He lived in New York, grew up in this country, and kind of happened into the announcing business and became a disc jockey and did a lot of radio and television in this period. The other commercial, almost a commercial, was almost product placement. Early on in the episode was when they pour some beer and it's dispensed from the backside of the drum. And it says on the drum, it's spelled in a weird way, in a funny way, what'll you have? Which was the setup to the Pabst Blue Ribbon ad campaign. They didn't actually say that, but it was, kind of a commercial. And then the other thing that I found very, very funny, and I'm sure you all got it too, was the movie that was playing. And on the marquee, it was written in French, La trompette sonne à minuit. I just thought that was really funny. They didn't say anything about it. I don't know why they did it, but it was really funny.
That's great. I love that. Well, Zach, what are your thoughts on this episode?
I'm honestly shocked that this isn't in the top 10 for anybody here, because this is one of my top 10 episodes of the television show.
Wow.
There's two reasons. One is, yes, that final scene.
Yeah, because you like Sad Jack. Come on, man.
You're partially right. I wouldn't be writing a book about Jack's film career if I didn't think that Jack was an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And that's a proving point. You know, I like watching Jack be sad because it shows his abilities as a performer. It's one thing to have the mode from a creative standpoint of, okay, I've got a short fuse, I'm a tightwad, I'm a cheapskate, I'm a would-be Lothario. I can hit all those buttons. I love watching Jack when he gets humble, or when he gets sheepish, or when he becomes a little sullen, because you kind of watch his behaviors. And I like watching his movement and behaviors outside of the cafe and inside the cafe. And it sets up and tees off the ending so beautifully, because the ending, one of the things I love about the ending is that there is, I want to say there's 95% zero hint of the boss employer mentality. It's almost completely devoid of it. And the fact that that exists in 1953, this isn't the rebroadcast version with Dennis Day doing an Allstate commercial. Or State Farm Insurance commercial. This is 1953 at the crux of television. And we were joking about Star Trek earlier. Prior to Star Trek breaking a lot of grounds with a kiss, it's a black man and a white man sitting at a chair and putting their feet up and engaged in a friendship banter. It's one of the most revolutionary things you'll ever see from that era coming out of it. But again, you have to have that melancholy. And I like the idea of Jack as this, Kathy, in your book, you talk a lot about how some gender roles are reassigned and reversed in Jack's radio work. This is one of those examples, I feel, where Jack is the spurned girlfriend. And you have Gloria being the one working. And I think that that's one of those strengths of it, is you get to watch Jack's almost feminine side kind of come out of that in that respect. But he's playing it spurned, and I love when he goes, it's like, she says the line, "I'll be off at 3:00." He's like, "At 3:00, I'll be in bed." and then he walks out. And my favorite bit is he goes back in and goes, "I forgot my cane." And you just see him trying to hold his pride intact. And that's the beauty of him as a performer. Like, he literally did show you all of our faults and frailties. And it wasn't in just the archetypes we associated with him. It's in the way he delivers it. It's one thing to hear it on the radio. It is another thing to see it on television and watching him act like you want to have the last word. And I think that Jack is able to have the last word while still showing this crushing vulnerability that he's feeling. And the ending where Rochester takes his cane back, just like, I forgot my cane, and then he just walks off. Like, it's a brilliant capper. That's why I consider it. It's not in my top slot 5, but it's in the 6 to 10 range, because it does show a side of Jack that I do like seeing. And regarding the commercials, Terry, I love looking at that one woman smoking a Lucky Strike cigarette and staring into the camera, because I'm just imagining, and cut. It's one of the reasons why Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is so great, because you show Leonardo DiCaprio doing that red apple cigarettes ad, and then he just goes like, "These terrible." But yeah, it's I can see why Eddie Jr. likes it. I could also see why the melancholy thing may be a little bit meh, but I do enjoy it a lot. It is easily
Jack
one of
does
the
a
best
good
ones.
job acting in this. I agree. If you want an episode that highlights his acting, this probably does it better than just about any other show in the entire run of the television.
Yep.
Buck, would you say that his acting was even better than Rod Serling's?
Well, it's hard to beat Rod because Rod is one of our fine actors, of course, but it's right up there. When you have them together, it's amazing. The Kathy, you were going to say.
It's worth mentioning that this is a new plot, right? They'd never done this show on radio, and
Actually, they did. They did do it on radio. Yes,
but I don't. But how early was it? Was it before this, or was it around the same time?
That I'm not sure of. They could have done it after this, I suppose, but I don't think so because that'd be awfully late. I want to say they did it a couple times in the maybe late 40s, early 50s.
I can remember, him having to say, because then it's the shock of where he says her name, Gloria.
Yes. Yes.
So, but I like how we got to see it here. But I was curious if this was a new.
It probably almost had more impact on the radio because to have him just be in this diner or whatever and be sad and just there's a person working there at the counter and you don't even think about it, and then to on the radio have him say thank you Gloria or whatever he says when he mentions her name. I remember listening. That's probably why I remember that the episode is on radio, because when I heard it I was just like, oh wow, that's Gloria. And and it was like out of this sadness, it's amazing that he can play the sad. So he's a sad Jack, and yet there's still funny stuff that happens to him and things he says. That's pretty amazing. So.
I'm actually getting a memory recajoled because Phil Harris is in one of the radio versions of this sketch. They actually go around with the cast first. They actually give Mel Blanc a spot too, like they do here. Right. And the timing on the diner bit is tighter. Like it's a matter of seconds. But she does the gee, I'm sorry I couldn't get off earlier. That's all right, Gloria. And it's quicker than the live audience in television here. But so I'm guessing it must have been earlier, but I agree. It's probably has a better impact on radio because you're just hearing a typical maybe Sarah Berner or B. Benaderet voice coming out of there. And then all of a sudden it's like, that's the big twist and reveal. I think it works fine here. On television, but I see exactly what you're saying.
See, the thing is too, once you've seen it or heard it once, you don't know what the impact is the second. So like because I originally heard it on radio, that was the first time I heard this. It caught me, and whereas this one didn't catch me because I was expecting it when we hit it. And
so was the 1961 television version significantly different than this?
If I recall correctly, one of the big changes is that Dennis Day's in it,
right?
And he comes out dressed as Baby New Year, and then redresses, and then does a song, and then does the think of saving $10, $20, $30 car insurance. But
is there the Rochester scene and Jack scene is still in that? I assume.
I don't know. I just know that it was redone.
I'm sure it was.
My guess is that it would be, because why would you remove that bit? Like that's a strong bit that clearly worked for people.
Yeah. But it was, like you say, Zach, it was far more groundbreaking in 1950. What is this? 54, 53?
53. Yeah. It's just you're pushing a whole different set of boundaries. I think the fact that you're getting away with Rochester on television at this time is groundbreaking in and of itself. But then again, like, Kathy's already pointed this out in her stuff, like this relationship was so accepted by the public that they were able to circumvent stuff that seemingly would have never passed muster by any censorship. But television, I'm actually not sure how television worked with censorship in its earlier years, but this still feels far more groundbreaking than a lot of stuff you get the claim on for being groundbreaking.
Yeah. Well, I agree that the other piece I'll throw out there that's a little groundbreaking in this episode, which surprised me. was in 1953 to get a woman saying that she's off at 3 o'clock and we'll meet up with you at 3 o'clock in the morning. There is a whole insinuation that goes along with that, and then to have him reject
yes,
it,
the
which
witching
makes
hour.
it even more funny that he rejects this with essentially a 1953 booty call. But anyway, is how it comes across anyway, because I don't know why else you would get together with somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning very much for that, but whatever.
Well, but it's New Year's when you're supposed to stay up all night.
Oh.
But then on the other hand, it's not midnight. Three is just normal, just as you say. One thing about I so agree, Zach's great ideas about the importance of this show, and part of that why the positive side, the plus that you couldn't have on radio, is seeing those incredible ultra dress suits.
Yes.
And the fact, if this had been in the 30s, they would have said, "Oh, Rochester, take off! You're wearing Jack's other suit."
Yeah.
And I love that he could have one exactly like Jack's, and it's just and a cane, and it to be, not borrowed but his own, in the same way that when he had the beautiful car in
Benny Rides Again. Yeah. Did you? When you gave us the link to this, Daryl, I looked at the comments section as I don't know, look at the comments section normally on the links that are given, because I'm just like, I know the episode back and forth, but I looked at the comment section for some reason, and one of them said, can you imagine all the racists that would have been losing their minds watching this ending scene? I was just I started giggling in my bed, going oh my God, that is kind of funny to think about.
Yeah. Well, Kathy, I believe you were going to share some variety reviews, so maybe you can share that.
Yes, thanks. As I said, we're fortunate that Variety covered each one of these episodes as if it were a special, because he was only on once a month, which they would not be doing if he was on every week, and that they didn't do with his radio show. But it's interesting to me to find that their Helm, their usual television reviewer, is really taken the same way we were with The Shift. So here's what they say. The mellow feeling that comes with the passing of an old friend or an old year must have given Jack Benny the peg on which to hang last night's show. It was different from what his millions of loyal dialers are accustomed to, but with all a pleasant session. Here's one comic who rarely disappoints, even though the yucks don't pop with every punchline or cack situation. About the only thing one is sure of in a Benny teleshow is that he'll stroll out of the wings and do a single on center stage. From then on, it's anyone's guess. And last night's runoff was a surprising turn. After telling about Christmas gifts, Benny is hailed by his cast with a New Year's greeting. Bob Crosby on the pipes and Frankie Remley plucking the guitar in a rendition of Let's Start the New Year Right. Benny is all decked out in top hat, tails, and cane, which he always forgets but comes back for, and goes slumming when his date stands him up. She turns out to be a waitress when he climbs a counter for a mug of Java. A lonely, forlorn figure, he drifts into a beanery and then wends his weary way home. Rochester is accoutered in kind for a big night on Central Avenue, but he feels sorry for the boss and decides to sit it out with him at home. As the new year is told, they break out a bottle of champagne and celebrate in their own way with confetti flying. Most of the old gang was on hand to round out another year, Rochester his 17th, which brought him out for Benny's curtain speech. The old standbys included Don Wilson, Mel Blanc, the Sportsman, Sam Hearn, Benny Rubin, and Sandra Gould, which we figured out was wrong. So they said, this reviewer has been following Jack Benny for years, and the fact that they really note the sort of the somber, the sad, the melancholy tone of this, and then the happy ending. Right. I think it's really interesting.
The description in his review is more depressing than the episode gets itself. I was like, this is turning into the unbearable lightness of being or something. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, and Kathy, I'm glad you read that review, because it reminded me that the opening did feel kind of live. I mean, it felt almost ad-libbed. It had that great feel that we don't often get with new television programs.
You are
never
100%.
get.
Yeah.
Except for late night, talk shows.
Yeah, I love that part. And then the other thing it mentioned that we haven't mentioned that I want to mention is Sam Hearns in this episode playing his Rube character. And he does the traditional, hey, Rube, which is always funny for him calling Jack a Rube because, he's a Rube, not Jack, but whatever, that it works, I guess. And that piece feels so added. It's just like, it doesn't really track with like anything else. Just all of a sudden the Rube character shows up and then is gone so quickly. I mean, it can't be more than a minute piece or maybe a minute and a half. I mean, it is short and then they move on. But
yeah. I wanted to mention notes I took at the time that when he's doing that ad-libbed business about gifts for people, the joke he makes about the gift for Mary, that he wanted to get her a Cadillac, but oh no, this and that, so he got her handkerchiefs. He told that joke in 1932. That exact same joke. It was part of his vaudeville routine. When it was back then, he said, "Oh, I was going to get my girl." And it was then like a Packard or a Pierce Arrow or something like that, and then but ends up giving her a handkerchief. So the fact that he could make something so old seem so offhanded and kind of new is pretty amazing.
That's great. And the other thing I just thought I mentioned this because you just mentioned Mary, it made me think about this. So often in the radio and TV show, I mentioned that everybody knows I love Mary, and I love when Mary appears with Jack. And, in this episode, she's not on this episode. And so often, whoever's substituting for her, you sort of feel like, oh, okay, it's a knockoff version of Mary, or this is stuff Mary would have done even better, and so forth. In this case, they created a whole situation where that wouldn't have worked with Mary. You couldn't have done this with Mary because if you saw her at the counter, you wouldn't get the whole surprise of who she was. So that's another thing I like about this episode. It uses another female character in a way that they couldn't have used Mary. So I like that. And so that adds to me some entertainment value. And then the other thing, as we were talking through this, I was thinking about it in my head. Jack, for many years, did the Lieutenant skit would be the one that he would do. And he did that at one point in the television show, and we'll present that. You've probably seen it the week before this or after this, whatever. Anyway, he did that for years and years and years. I think they got tired of it or decided to step away from it, and that's when they created this episode. Mm-hmm. And so I want to say it's right at the end of the 1940s, somewhere in there. And then they step away from, then they do this episode, I think, every year for a couple or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then he jumps back one more time in 1952 during the radio during his time on radio to do the Lieutenant skit yet again. And unfortunately, that's one of the ones we've lost the audio of it, so we don't have that. But we do have the script, and we're going to be presenting it here soon for the Jack Benny convention coming up and things. So that will be a lot of fun. But it's neat that we can do that. But it just made me think, oh yeah, that's why they revisit it, and they haven't for a few years, because they were doing this story instead for New Year's. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Anybody else have anything else they want to throw out before we go in a minute and 50 seconds? No, it sounds like no one has anything. So we'll go with this. Enjoy this episode. It's you get a new insight into Jack and Rochester. You get a different Jack than you usually get. And like Zach says, the acting is superb in this. And it's a lot of fun. The beginning's fun, and then it switches to kind of be it kind of changes gears that you're not expecting. And that's inviting. And it's nice to have that on a Jack Benny episode, to have it go in a little different direction than we're expecting. So enjoy. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year, by the way.
on tonight's program were Mel Blanc, Benny Rubin, Sam Hearn, Sandra Gould, Tom Dugan, and Mike Ross. Remember, 1 week from tonight on this same station, Ann Southern returns in Private Secretary. Jack Benny's next television show will be in 3 weeks. In the meantime, be sure to listen to Jack Benny on radio every Sunday night over the CBS Radio Network. The Jack Benny program has been brought to you by Lucky Strike, product of the American Tobacco Company, America's leading manufacturer of cigarettes.
Now stay tuned for Toast of the Town on the CBS Television Network.